White Lane is closed until further notice because Randy just read that to me when I walked out the door, but we have not verified that. Did you know Guardian Response is coming to the hospital tomorrow? A 3-day exercise that we just found out about this morning. Stephanie, Keith, none of us.
I'm excited.
Public meeting of the Board of Johnson County Commissioners on this 27th day of April, 2021 at 3:00 p.m. Please pray with us if you care to, and then we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you bow with me for a moment of prayer, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we always come to you with grateful hearts, and we're especially grateful today as we enjoy this wonderful weather after the weather that we had a few days ago. Dear Lord, I just want to recognize the people in the room here today, and it reminds me of the dedication and the service that these people provide for the public, and they do it with the best intent of their hearts, but the Lord knows their salary doesn't compensate them appropriately. I'd just like to recognize them here today, dear Lord, and ask that you bless each and every one of them and their families as they serve the residents of Johnson County. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City of Franklin 2021 tax sale property valuation analysis. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Good afternoon. I'm Krista Linke. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Franklin. And there was a presentation that was emailed. Do you have that? Are you able to put that up?
I don't know
I don't
if we have it. Chris probably doesn't.
I do.
Shoot. Okay.
We can watch it along with you though.
Yeah.
You have it
Yeah,
on
we
your
have
it
iPad?
on our
Okay.
iPads.
Oh, well, I did not bring it with me. Okay. Well, I've done this presentation about 6 times, so I feel like maybe I got this. So, yes. So I think the first slide that you have, if you have it, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so the first slide that you have is 2180 East King Street, which is the Red Carpet Inn property. And I think all of you were around during those days and remember that beautiful building out by the interchange. So the first thing you would see off the exit for our beautiful city was this lovely hotel property with a in-ground pool that was green, and I think it was the #1 police runs and fire runs of any property in the city. It was in our unsafe building hearing process, and there was a long process of, in 2012, that building was actually demolished through the unsafe building program through the city, and there was a lien attached to the property. And the property taxes have been paid, all those kinds of things. So to make a very long story short, that ended up being about $347,000 in taxes and liens that have been unpaid. And due to a partnership between the city and the county, there was an agreement. That was the first property that went through the tax certificate process. And so we thought, actually it was Lynn Gray, our city attorney, that recommended that we report back to all of you and just kind of give you a recap of what's happened to these properties that you've been so kind to partner with us on. And so that's what we want to just give you an overview of today. So once that title was cleared and all of that process was complete, and there is a lot of expense to that as far as the legal fees and the public notice and all of those kinds of things that we incurred through the city. But ultimately that was worked out through the mayor and the commissioners, and so we appreciate your cooperation with that. But what we wanted to show you is the assessed value before, and then what was able to occur in this area without that nuisance property there. And so the next slide shows you kind of a before. And so that takes an inventory of all of the parcels in the area. And the total assessed value is $3,691,000. And then the next slide shows you how it's been reconfigured. So our redevelopment commission paid $4,367,000 to build that Paris Drive with the roundabout and realign that street. And then the improvements to Granville Drive as well, which is kind of that access street. And there were some tax incentives that were given to the redevelopment of both east side of Paris Drive and the west side of Paris Drive, but also that red carpet property was kind of the key part of redevelopment of that area. There was a little strip mall in front, if you recall. There was like a Mexican restaurant, a liquor store in there, and lots of things over the years. But there was tip dollars that were used to help purchase that as well and demolish that. As an incentive was Sprague Hotels, kind of on the east side of Paris Drive, and then on the west side, the Fairfield Inn. They were also given tip dollars to help incentivize that development as the first two pieces of redevelopment. Since then, obviously there's a Starbucks and a Taco Bell and a Culver's. And so the assessed value as of 2021 for that area is now $15,245,000. So that's an increase in valuation of a little over $11.5 million. So I don't know that we could ask for a better success story as far as this area. Part of that agreement through that process, the tax certificate process, is that we would not create a TIF district in that area on that red carpet property, and we did not do that. We also did not do that on the west side of Paris Drive, and so all of these increase in assessed value is flowing through to all of the taxing units. And I went ahead and added up the property taxes that were paid from 2020 to 2021. It's over $580,000 in property tax revenue now being generated from this increased assessed value and redeveloped area. So,
Chrissy, were there any tax abatements applied on those?
No. No tax abatements.
Just curious.
Nope. The next slide is takes us to the residential program through the Franklin Development Corporation, but these also were through the tax certificate property process. And so these came to the Franklin Development Corporation through you, the commissioners, through the Board of Works at the city. So it took a lot of partners to make this happen. And so this next one at 551 West Madison Street, its previous assessed value was $44,300. It had been vacant for a number of years, was behind on taxes. The people that redid this property actually paid $10,500, which helped us recoup some of our legal fees and things like that. But they did a lot of research. If you ever have a chance, they're very proud of this. They've named it Ida after one of the former owners that lived there. They've researched all the history. This is one of the original log cabins in Franklin. They've exposed all the wood beams and timbers. It's a really, really neat, kind of almost a little mini museum inside now of this kind of one-room cabin. They've done a really great job. So the increase in assessed value there is $47,500. So we're really proud of that one. The next one is 420 West Jefferson Street. And this was a partnership with several organizations. The school was involved in this one. They had kind of their industrial shop class come out and help with a demo and learn some different things about wiring and framing and drywall and all that kind of stuff, but it was a partnership there. This one had been vacant for a number of years. The assessed value was $58,300. The assessed value of this one now is $154,700. The rehab on this one was done in less than a year, and it was purchased in August of 2020 for $209,000. So going from a vacant, abandoned property, not paying taxes, the city's mowing it, code enforcement, those kinds of things. So we're really excited about that one as well. The next one is 348 Kentucky Street, and this was a multifamily unit. Originally it was single family, but it had been converted over the years. I think there were 5 different apartments in this. There was a hole in the roof, at least this big, with water damage. It was part of our unsafe building hearing process. There were over 20 cats living here. That at one point it was not connected to sewer. So there was all kinds of building code and code enforcement violations. This was a real nuisance property for this neighborhood. So the difference here on this one, and because it was assessed at multifamily, is not as great. So it had a value of 107,000. The assessed value now is 125,000, but it's been converted back to single family. The entire exterior has been restored and renovated. And they're living there working on the interior renovation. So we're pretty excited about that one as well. And you can notice both adjoining properties have also made some improvements and across the street. So it's had a really great effect on that neighborhood as well. The next one is 544 West Jefferson Street. And this one was abandoned and vacant for, I think, 16 years. And over the course of the property taxes and all the mowing and boarding, we had to board windows here and all those kinds of things. There were also many cats living here as well. This had accumulated over $85,000 in back taxes and liens over the years. And so this went through the process, the request for proposals through the FTC, and it was purchased by John Connor in 2018 for $10,000. He owns Connor Contracting. And really it took this unique individual that could do the work themselves. Otherwise, financially, this project just didn't make sense for anyone. A lot of the additions have been torn off. There's been foundation work, and he kind of uses this as a fill-in project between paid projects. So this one's taking longer than we would like, but they are working on it again, and ultimately it will be completely restored and it'll be a showpiece place. I think it'll be awesome. Right now, the assessed value is actually lower than it was before because it's not multifamily, it's back to single family, but it's still in that renovation process. So I'm sure that will change.
I don't know when this picture was taken, when I came by there an hour and a half ago.
Mhm.
Same two guys.
Yeah.
Same shirts.
Yeah.
The only difference is
Yeah.
it's about 2 more sheets of plywood than up on it today.
It was very recent. They waved at me when I took the picture, so.
It had to be pretty recent.
It was, about a week or two ago. So we're looking forward to that and seeing more progress on that one. The next two, Johnson Avenue, 934 Johnson Avenue and 244 Cincinnati Street, those were vacant lots that just, we were mowing and the taxes weren't being paid on them. The difference here on these two is that they were classified as buildable home sites. You could build a house there if you wanted. So the assessed value for that versus, we gave preference through the process to adjoining property owners. So both of these lots went to adjoining property owners to make basically their residential lots bigger. So they were classified as a home site, and now they're classified as residential excess acreage. So the assessed value of both of these lots actually went down. As you can see, it's not a huge amount. The property tax difference isn't great, but the good news is that we're not mowing it. It's not a code enforcement issue. And then it also has added to those adjoining properties, and their assessed value of their homes have gone up. So it makes up for that difference in lost assessed value. Which brings me to 280 Circle Drive, and I actually just got the final tax bill today from Pam, and we have the tax deed, so we are super excited about this. This one was a little different because this house sat on 2 parcels, and then the driveway was on the 3rd parcel. So the 2 parcels went to tax sale for several years, but nobody bought it, nobody did anything with it because you couldn't get the 3rd parcel. So what good is 2 if you can't get all 3? So the Franklin Development Corporation worked with the auditor's office to try to, make sure we could get those 2 parcels and through the commissioners. And then we actually approached the property owner and paid them for that 3rd parcel. We paid them $2,500 for that 3rd parcel, and then went through the process and just received the tax deeds. So we plan on putting almost $100,000 into this property this year. We're going to do a complete exterior and interior renovation, and then the property will be for sale. And so we're really excited about that because right now there's 1 house in all of Johnson County under $150,000 that's for sale. Affordable housing is just really hard to come by. So our target amount is about $140,000 we hope to charge for this, and we won't make a great deal of money on it. We hope to not lose money, but we want to take that money and put it into the next property, which is Hurricane Street. So this is 650 Hurricane Street. We actually just purchased this lot and this house. It's a beautiful, beautiful house for $17,000. And we plan on, once Circle Drive is complete, we'll move to that one. We're partnering with Franklin Heritage. We're gonna use some volunteers, have some work days, those kinds of things, and then also with some help through the city and just keeping the property maintained until that time. This will also be a complete, basically a new build, infill construction, keeping it kind of historically appropriate for the area. And then this will be available, and our goal is to do that by late fall of this year if everything goes well. So pretty excited about those two projects this year. We'll keep an eye on the tax sale properties and just see if there are any more. They're harder and harder to come by as real estate is kind of crazy right now everywhere. But we'd like to continue the program, and if not, then we'll purchase properties like we started doing on Hurricane Street. So just wanted to give you an update and kind of let you know where we've landed with some of these, and just thank you for your partnership and see if you have any questions.
Well, sometimes I think it's perceived as county being generous in making these properties available to you. But we got a little bit of an ulterior motive. We've had these doggone things on the tax sale, and we run them through year after year after year. And thanks to Pam and Sheena and the legal team working on a way to get these things out of the tax sale and get them into some form of remodel with the new whatever. It's been a great partnership for sure.
Yeah, it really has, and I just wanted to share too, a lot of other communities have heard about this and have contacted me, and just the city, and there are other communities doing this now, and I've actually done this presentation at a couple different conferences. So it's really been a great model, I think, for the whole state, and I just wanted to let you know and thank you for your cooperation. So.
Thank you for letting us know and the partnerships we've had too. And not just this, just in everything that we do together, it seems to work real well. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Hi, the mayor who's here. I wanted to make sure I said hi. I didn't see you sitting over there. Hi, you got to invite him to the mic.
Well, no, I just got to get this mic, so.
That's
How can you
mayor.
not see me hiding that well? The white jacket just blends into the wall there, right? So I just want to thank the commissioners. And Ron, you kind of, the last time we were here, and you said it seems like the commissioners are always, giving and the cities doesn't give back. And that's why we thought it was a good idea to show you how these partnerships work. And I know there's other partnerships like Brian just mentioned that we've done that has worked out for both the city and the
Still
county.
working on some.
And we're still working on some, and I believe we need to get the word out more of what we're trying to do together, because to look like we're butting heads, I don't think we're ever butting heads. We may disagree on some stuff, but I think majority of the time we're trying to stay focused on what's best for the cities and county and work together. So I just want to say thank you for that. And if we run across some other good presentations, we'll be sure and get them to you. So.
I'll tell you what you guys did out there at the interstate, the development out there.
Gorgeous.
Is such a nice attraction and really.
I drove that just last week. I drove over there just to look at it again and how pretty that is and how neat it looks over there compared to what it used to look like.
Well, and not tiffing, I know that we had talked, whenever we talked about the parking lot and that we wouldn't tiff that area. We talked about with the redevelopment commission, since we spent so much TIF dollars on that area to TIF the other side, we decided, no, let's just leave all of that to go back into the regular general fund and show that we are a partnership with the county and the schools and libraries and make that work that way. So
We do appreciate that.
Like I say, the people down at the horse park are really grateful for the two hotels out there, because prior to that, they'd have 500 people in there for a horse show, and they're all going to Bartholomew County to spend the night. And so this is really a great addition.
Hopefully it's gonna bring more and more in too as
And
we
we
improve the
knew-
park. So.
yeah, and we knew that we was missing out on not having good hotels here, and like the college, their parents, they go there now.
Yep.
Google, whenever they was going to the high school, they were having trouble finding stuff in Franklin. So we still need more, but we need more housing. We need more affordable housing, workforce housing, mid-range housing. We need all kinds of different housing. So there's a housing shortage, and I was telling the group today, it's not just Franklin. Everybody acts like there's no houses in Franklin. No, but it's not just here, it's everywhere. So And we're trying to address that. So down the road, we'll come back and tell you about some subdivisions that we know that's in the works, and that's a headache going through all that. But it's happening. Yeah, there's about 600 to 800 homes that's being proposed all over the city at different locations, so.
Before you leave, I do want to let the commissioners know and everybody that's listening, that's in the meeting, that the East Central IACC Commissioner District meeting is in Franklin this year at Garment Factory and over at the Tin Pin for a little entertainment this year. It's the first time the East Central District's done anything like that, so it's new, but there'll be 15 different counties that should be represented down here in Franklin, and Mayor's going to welcome us at the event, so I want everybody to know that he's going to be there doing that.
And I appreciate you making that happen, Brian, so thank you for
I
that.
wanted to do something to let them know what Johnson County is about, and I thought those were two good places to do that.
I spoke to a group today that said we have created our own problem, but it's a good problem to have, and that problem is no housing. Everybody wants to come here because of the how we've redeveloped, and I don't want to take any credit. I'm just telling you that it takes an army of people to make things happen, and I just happen to be lucky enough to be the one sitting at the captain's seat right now. So, but we got a good group, and starting with these two right here, that they make me look good at times. All the time.
All three of us will tell you the same thing. It takes a big group and a good group to get done what we get done.
All right, well, I'll let you get back to your meeting.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget June 9th.
Okay.
You guys blues color today, girls.
It is, I know. It's not our uniform, I promise.
New city uniform.
Yeah.
Hey, if I'm driving that shift, they gotta look one.
We gotta know who it is, right? Yeah. And excuse my ignorance, but when do we want to slip the library? Since it's actually
I believe she's up for public comment, right?
at the end. Okay, so you're good till then. I just wanted to make sure we weren't leaving anybody out. Health departments.
Betsy Swearingen, Director of the Johnson County Health Department. I'm here today to ask for permission / forgiveness on a grant that we would have come to you and asked for. We thought it was an additional appropriation to our vaccination clinic. It actually is a mass vaccination clinic grant that we told them we would incorporate the mass vaccination clinic into our current clinic, and did not know there were going to be funds associated with it. But they sent a contract for about $45,000. So we're here to ask that it's okay that we applied for that extra.
We don't want for
We try not to turn it away any chance we get.
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, ma'am. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
County Court's approval to attend the NADCP RISE 21 program, August 15th to 18th.
Hello,
Hi, Brandy.
Brandy Kirkendall, Court Administrator. I have Judge Nugent with me, just disappeared into the hallway.
He probably went to get coffee.
But I can answer any questions that you have about our request to attend the National Conference for Drug Court, Problem Solving Courts. I think in my email I addressed.
And I did go through everything and looked at everything, and it all looks pretty legitimate. And actually, it's like pretty packed days.
Yeah, I'm gonna learn a lot. It's actually August the 4th. It starts on the 15th, but it's at noon, so we're leaving Saturday the 14th.
And I have had an opportunity to come to court with you guys during one day, and it's worthwhile for you to probably step in there one day and watch it in action. It's very beneficial. Judge News and Brandy do a really good job of running that court, reentry court, basically.
They like his trivia, feedback.
Yeah.
They like his trivia
he's giving
questions
away,
way better
you know,
than mine.
Ranger bass boats and all kinds of stuff in there.
It's
You
a,
there for the regular court or special court?
It was special.
Special.
It's on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock. Is that through? Okay.
we
Yeah.
staff at
I mean, it's
3
worth
o'clock.
to go see.
I've done it before.
That's
Yeah. Yeah, it's admirable what, not only what they're doing, but what they're accomplishing with it. And to hear the testimony of the people there, I was mightily impressed when I was there.
Well, and the things that we see him more than me on the daily, it's really the highlight of the week. To is some change being effective.
Maybe we can get it on TV.
Let's not do
I
that.
don't think you want to do that.
Let's not push that.
But I tell you, reflecting on that meeting, I think one of the things that really makes it successful is there's no appearance of hierarchy there. I mean, the people there, I felt like they thought they were on the same footing with the judge and the other officials that were there from probation and prosecutor's office. They just seemed real comfortable with who they were and where they were, and I was really impressed with that. You know, typically when a judge walks in, everybody stands up. Not there.
Well, and the
It was
purpose-
good.
One of the purposes of attending the training is to be able to, you know, grow these courts into the specialized areas, because it is more of a cognitive behavioral approach and not, you know, a punishment approach, which is what court usually is. So it's learning those techniques, because not every judge has that skill to be able to do what you're talking about.
Not said,
Yeah, we'll leave that one
not
alone.
said.
Yeah.
You have a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve, sir.
Exactly.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I
Thank you.
think you get the email that the limit was raised. So
Yes.
that was,
Thank you.
Did you get your grant yet?
Haven't gotten it yet.
Not yet.
Well, with one of them, we have a $5,000 grant.
okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Have fun, Judge. Treasurer, ordinance.
Good afternoon, Michelle Ann Graves, Johnson County Treasurer. I've asked Gina to help with this ordinance. We would like to define the manner in which these large payment files are delivered to the county in order to protect the integrity of our payment process.
I think you should read the new ordinance. What do you think? I'm just teasing.
Thank you for teasing.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. And under further discussion, are there charges to companies or anything for this service? If there's a company that's doing those mass,
Yes, the companies that are providing the mass payment files are for-profit companies, so they're being paid a fee for their services. It's standard in Indiana that I know of for these companies to go through a third-party payment portal, which is what we have. And that just protects us. Those files are scrubbed, clean, good to go, so that we have every confidence when we go to load those payment files into our tax data system.
I knew that, but I wanted everybody else to hear.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty minimal charges. Looks like
Yeah, they're minimal, but at least there's something there
It's an industry standard.
that covers it.
It's not uncommon.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Community Corrections Juvenile Division. Approval to apply for FY 2021 to 2022 Indiana Department of Child Services Children's Bureau.
Damon Cox, Assistant Director for Juvenile Community Corrections, here for approval to submit the letter of intent for funding through the Indiana Department of Child Services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Clerk approval for IRA agreement, and Trina will not be here, so I told her that I would better cover for her others.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Luke? Change order.
Change orders, just one change order. Luke Maston, Highway Director. First item is a request for approval and execution of a construction change order. This would be number 2 for the Worsville Road Connector project. This change order is due to a required change in the subgrade treatment under the roadway. The change order amount is about $17,000, but 80% of that will be covered with federal dollars.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further? none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, sir.
Next item is our review and approval of our proposed 2021 road repair program. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this to you until this weekend. I apologize for that.
Gave me good reading while I was out of the state on vacation.
I was hoping you could read it on the plane back, so, yeah. I was thinking about you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Generally, the work types are the same as what we typically do. A lot of paving, a lot of chip seal. One key change that we're trying this year is to do asphalt conversions of concrete streets with our in-house forces rather than contracting that out. We've done some of that work, kind of as practice, I guess, last year, and it went pretty well. So we can see a pretty significant cost savings if we can do that work ourselves. So we'll be contracting out more paving to make up for that, since we won't have as much time to do paving. So
I was gonna ask you, look on that, one of the things that you outlined was a delay in starting the actual work for utility locations. Could you do those utility locations back during the winter or whatever if you knew which way you're going?
So we have been starting that process earlier and earlier. There's two groups of asphalt conversion work here. There's the work that we identified last year, applied for the community crossings grant, and is being constructed this year. We started that coordination with the utilities back in October, even before we got the community crossings award, knowing that it would take a lot of time to coordinate, get the work plans, and then for them to get the materials and actually do the work. So as we go forward, we're trying to start that process earlier and earlier. There's a lot of road work going on. I'm not even just I-69, but some of the utilities, some of the ones we work actually very closely with, they're stretched pretty thin, trying to keep up with all of the places that they're in the way of other construction projects too. So we're trying to start that process early enough that we can get the work started earlier. But like I said, we started that in October of last year, and we're still not ready to move forward.
I thought it was one of those deals where the guy goes out there and he swings this thing back and forth and locates them, but it's probably more detailed than that.
When we do rotary constructions like this, a lot of times we have utilities in the way of our work. If we're putting under drains in, or we're putting storm sewers in. So we have to identify where they are first with the guy swinging the thing, but then we will take elevation shots and we'll coordinate with them. If they are in the way of our work, then we have to wait for them to move before we can go in and do our construction.
So they do the relocation?
The individual utility does, yeah.
And we have to compensate them for that?
No, only if they're in the easement. If they're in our right of way and they're in our way, then the cost of relocating is on the utility. Since most of our concrete street neighborhoods are older, we find that the utilities aren't as deep as they probably would be today, which is why we tend to have a lot of relocation work that has to be done before we can do that reconstruction.
I was just curious, as always.
I'll move to approve the road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, sir.
Thank you.
Board of Commissioners, UST certification.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New old business, claims and credit card.
Well, got the juvenile left in here, still got this in. The pullovers for $788. Did we ever get it? Anything back?
Did you see it was divided among two different areas?
Well, they got $200 coming from one spot and $588 from another, but,
Some are for juvenile and some are for adult, the one pullovers.
I didn't think it was for the inhabitants. I thought it was all for the workers.
Well, I think, what I'm saying is some of the pullovers were for the juvenile side. Some for the adult probation side. So it was two different bills split is what it was. I didn't know if you realized that or not.
But my question, and I sent Angela an email on that, because she specified she had a line item for that, but she does, she's got a line item with $2,000 in it, but it specifically says for service officers and equipment, not for general population. I never did hear back. Did anybody hear back?
I have not received anything on it, sir.
So I would have a problem, I've still got a problem approving that one. I was gonna ask the sheriff, he had some good ones. You know, I'm always complaining about different departments using Amazon, because I think they should be buying locally if they can. I know there's some expediency and maybe some cost savings sometimes with Amazon, but sometimes you got a situation that would probably require making a purchase locally, and the sheriff had one, and they went ahead and purchased it from Amazon. It was a toilet paper holder for $16.91. And I'm thinking, that's kind of an emergency thing. They probably could have run to Lowe's and got that. And then, and on that one credit card for the sheriff's department, they had $1,389.95, and they had commissary and a check number from commissary, but then they marked it out. I was just curious, do they pay anything with commissary?
I'll have to look at it, Ron, and get back with you.
And we talked a little bit about Superior 3 buying face shields, $139.08. But I don't, does it? Stephanie have those out there, Danny? She doesn't have face shields. What I was curious about that is they had a $9.10 taken off of the total for the taxes, sales tax, and it was paid by C. Robley.
She works out there. County doesn't pay sales tax, and sometimes when they order things, then they don't turn in the sales tax form that says we don't pay them. Rather than them trying to go back and backtrack and get that back, they'll just write a check, pay it out of their own pocket.
Really?
There are a lot of people that do that.
Huh.
Because they don't submit the ST 105 to eliminate the sales tax.
Okay. And Luke, I was gonna ask him too, he purchased 24 sweatshirts, $26 from 20 cents.
For those safety shirts.
That's what I was gonna ask him, it said sweatshirts. Yeah. And Superior One bought a printer and a fax machine.
There's Luke, he's still out there. He's trying
Chris, do we have any printers and fax machines available?
Not on standby.
Okay, because usually we had, some,
Now we've got
something on
But they can, we really should be running everything through IT anyway, at least.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
the pricing.
24 sweatshirts.
Yes, that was a delayed part of the last order that we had. Those sizes were delayed, so they ended up coming in.
Are those safety vests?
Yes, those are high vis yellow with reflective. Yeah,
We
It
can
just
provide
says
those to for our
sweatshirt.
employees.
we'll be purchasing t-shirts and vests soon too, so you'll see that coming. It's a little hot to wear those jackets in July.
Just don't buy embroidery pullover.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I do want to add to your comment, Ron, and I'm seen it to a lot of departments right now where we're providing jackets and pullovers and shirts, embroidery, masks, and I think that's just an absolute absurdity and a waste of taxpayer money to do that. So I'd be inclined to not approve any of those type of claims as they come through. I don't care what department they come from as far as just our normal departments. I don't see any reason for that at all. They can wear a lanyard with their ID on it if they want some kind of exposure of who they are. So just
I'd make one comment on that. With those, I mean, I think this problem or this issue lies with the council, because they're approving line items for these department heads or whatever to use, and it gets to our level and then we reject the claim. It gives them not a clear path. I think if this issue needs to be brought up with the council and just talk to the council about it, either remove that line item or put more specifics in that line item, because I think some of these directors and department heads are getting confused because they get a line item for clothing and then it gets to our level and then we say no. So.
But we've been talking about it for 3 years here.
Oh, I know, but they still got a line item from the council. That's what I'm saying.
Get that, but
If we need to address the council, I think that would be where we need to start. Because I know some of these department heads are getting, directors are getting confused here. So.
That's not a problem with it. We've been very upfront about it.
Yeah, I've questioned clothing for a long time. I don't think it's just the use of taxpayer money for some of those departments that really don't require.
I'm not saying for or against, I'm just saying it's confusing
I
on their
agree
point.
with you.
That's what I'm saying. It's not me against you guys. It's just, I think it needs to be clarified with the council.
Yeah.
So if we want to set up with the council, you can go talk to the council and relay your issues with them instead of, because these directors, they really do get confused. Because they've got a line item and they go to spend it and we kind of bark at them a little bit, so.
I agree, and if they specify the use, I think the council would probably deny that line item or at least their funding or appropriation.
I think in the one you're talking about, it was specified use for, it was used properly.
Yeah, they specified, but that's what I'm saying, yeah, in that case, it wasn't used according to what they specified. So I'm going to approve claims other than the pullovers for $788.
It's actually 500 on one
Actually, it was,
credit card and 600 on the other.
yeah, it's $1,388 total.
Yeah.
Given the 600 that was paid out on the other credit card.
That's under the probation department in juvenile. Just to be specific.
The 1388, the invoice, I didn't bring the invoice up, but it was from the probation department. Originating.
They already purchased these.
It's on the credit card, so the money has been expended. So it's that same catch-22 situation. You know, you're approving the credit card for payment after the fact. I mean, after they've already purchased something on their credit card. Had it been a normal claim, that would be different, but this is on the credit card. So we can withhold it, but then you have to realize that the credit card company doesn't care why you're not paying them. They only see that you're not paying your credit card bill.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
You don't want to be here
Let's
that
get
long.
Commissioner Beard started on this one. We'll be-
I just need specific instructions on what you'd like to do. If you want to pull it, we can pull it and hold it for a month, and I can notify the credit card company. We know that this is short and we're going to make it up next month. If that's what you choose to do, I can do that, but
It's not a legitimate claim.
they will
It
work
doesn't
with
fit
you.
under the line item that it's under. So. Say we withhold it.
And what was the total amount in that claim?
1388 total.
1388,
I
it's
got
the
the
two claims.
Invoice.
Yeah, I'm seeing a $600 charge and a $500 charge on the credit card, but I don't know where the other 188 is. I don't see it, but I'm sure somewhere. it's
Yeah,
on the-
I'll get with you, Pam. I got it.
And this specifically says in their line item, I haven't read the line item from the council.
the line.
I pulled the budget, I pulled the 2021 budget to see, what they specified the use for, and it says specifically for, field officer, I can't remember the
It
exact
was for basically
terminology,
field
and
officers.
equipment.
Do they,
And what equipment.
how many field, I don't know how many field officers they have. We've only got 2 in probation.
As far as I know, that's on the field.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I think if are you talking about 3 different
Yeah, we're not
departments who
talking
have
about-
claims
we're
with
not talking
police?
about-
I'll find out, I'll get with
Okay.
Pam and we'll make sure.
It's 2 officers.
I
I
haven't
know
looked
that.
at, I haven't looked at the
Just 2 officers.
definition.
Yeah, they've got part-time and then full-time. They just hired a part-time.
Any of the
They're,
probation officer, I mean, just, they
they're
do
gonna
home
be in
visitations.
uniform though, they're not gonna be in pullovers.
But I didn't know if probation goes, I'm just asking just for my own sake. They go out to the houses,
One one's to go over the officers. As far as I know,
probation doesn't make home visits or anything.
there's 2 officers to go out. Just to do that, they have to be badged.
Even to do probation visits. I'm just
If
asking.
they go into the homes, they have to be, but our security guard can probably answer that question. He's out there. Bob, are you listening? I don't know.
I'm just asking.
I was listening to part.
Field visits by probation, adult probation, are those done by the 2 officers? Or is
Yeah,
it,
you have 1 full-time and 1 part-time, at probation, adult probation, and that's what they do, they go out and do field.
they go out in the field, the
Yes.
others all come in, whatever they would come in to
They
see.
never go out to the homes. I didn't know if they went out to the
Yeah,
homes or not.
homes, businesses where they're employed, they do on-site inspections. as
That's
well
2
as-
officers.
Yes, sir.
but
As
nobody
well as
else, none of
on-site
the others.
restraints.
They usually come into them.
Okay, I didn't, I'm just asking.
Normally, I'm saying, because the ones that are going out are badged officers, actually. Yeah. It's the way it used to work. I don't know.
Field officers and then probation officers in-house.
Second.
Have a motion and a second as presented. And you'll get with. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioners minutes 4/12/2021 for approval.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further? Any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment.
Might be on the public.
You are for now.
Thank you, Lisa.
We have seen the library presentation.
Yes, no offense, you go on, get back to work.
Thank you. See you
I
guys.
saw it once.
See you, Steve. Don't forget, June 9th,
I'll be there. Thank you.
you and
Thanks, Krista.
Jeannie,
Okay,
both of you invited.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey there, Lisa Littner, Johnson County Public Library, just here for our annual review to elected boards. Thanks for letting me speak. In your packet there, you have a 2020 year in review and a few library programs of note, as well as our new May library guide, which has more than 100 programs. And our programs are in person, outdoors, and via Zoom still. So we, like most organizations, showed resiliency through the pandemic, and we've optimized our curbside service. We offered curbside before everybody else was, but we're using it much more heavily. Actually, White River Branch, people are requesting to use it several times a day still. And we also created a delivery service for anyone who's home ill or quarantined. We will deliver books, movies, audio materials to your house. And that's been really popular. 2020 has been a year we've all been looking forward to. And on March 23rd, we broke ground for a ceremonial groundbreaking for the new Clark Pleasant Branch project. It's located on US 31 in Whiteland. If you are driving north on 31 and you pass the Wishing Well Motel, it's 2 lots to the north of that, a couple of big piles of dirt and some earth movers there. We're really excited to expand this library, which is in one of the fastest growing areas of our county. And we really think it's going to be utilized not just by Whiteland and New Whiteland, but all Johnson County residents, because we know more than 30,000 vehicles drive 31 every day. And we're excited that people might find it a very convenient place to get library services. This new location will have very flexible meeting room spaces and study rooms, which are not available at all of our locations. It would also have a teen center. It will have a robotics learning lab to help develop some STEM careers in our county. And our adult learning center is moving from Franklin to White River, or to the Clark Pleasant branch. So we're excited that patrons will be going to the library to get adult basic education or English language skills. And our library foundation will be fundraising to try to add a fitness trail and a community garden, as well as some public art with fundraising dollars. Some upcoming programs of interest tonight, actually, I'm really excited for a program. There's a program on U.S. Parks, national parks. Enthusiast who's, I call him an expert, he's been so well traveled to U.S. national parks. He's doing a presentation tonight. If you want to sign up for that, there's still time to do that. You can get a Zoom link for that. April 1st, we launched our Walk to Mordor, which if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you walk 10, if you walk 1 mile on Earth, it's worth 10 Middle Earth miles. So 179 miles you're walking to Mordor, throwing the ring in and saving mankind and a bunch of other creatures. On May 4th, we have a basic guitar blues lesson. I'm just mentioning that because we just have such a variety of programs and we have such a variety of things you can check out now. You can check out ukuleles, sewing machines, cake pans, lots of STEM related things like telescopes and little robotics that kids can learn to code on. We have tons of board games that people can check out and have a family board game night at their house. Just lots of really fun things that you wouldn't expect at your library to check out. And we also added a new library service, which is the digital service called Cloud Library Newsstand, and it's over 6,500 magazines you can download with your library card. You can download as many as you want, keep them as long as you like. That's usually not the case at the library. Usually has some limits. But there's all sorts of fantastic, really popular magazines that if you're traveling or something, you can put them on your tablet and enjoy with just your library card. So those are my updates for today. I'm happy to answer any questions about the library anyone may have.
Lisa, you noted here 208,000 visits to the branches in 2020. Given the COVID pandemic, how does that compare to 2019?
It's 50%. 50% of in-person visits. Yep. So we're really hoping to see that turnaround this year.
And I just want to add, I was there for the groundbreaking, and the new library is really going to be innovative and creative in what they're going to provide. I was kind of impressed with some of the things that they're going to do there that you normally don't see or we haven't seen at the libraries in heretofore. So looking forward to that.
Thanks. We're working closely with Dr. Spray and Clark Pleasant schools, like the robotics learning lab is really developed through lots of meetings with him. The Early Childhood Learning Center is through meetings with kindergarten teachers to make sure the kids that are learning skills in our library that will prepare them for kindergarten. So we're really trying to partner with the local school system on this too.
Given the land space that they have available, to do some outside things as you mentioned. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm gonna ask Michelle to come up here and talk about the meeting last night we had on House Bill 13.
Anxious to hear about that.
It took many different trails last night.
So yeah, last night we opened the discussion for it. I explained what the House bill was to our Plan Commission and what you guys have asked us to take upon the Plan Commission to get an ordinance in place. We currently have a wind ordinance, So I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
that is actually a part of our zoning ordinance. I admit I'm not 100% familiar with it because not a lot of people ask me about wind farms. So, but it is in the zoning
We
ordinance.
don't live in my area.
Michelle, excuse me, I'm sorry, did you get your name?
Oh, I'm sorry,
correct,
Michelle
please?
Hanser, Director of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you very much, sorry about that.
So, I mean, I'll look at our wind ordinance and see if we need to update it a little bit, just to see if there's things that, you know, in model ordinances and stuff like that, that we should probably address.
How does it compare to the ones we've had as models? Or,
I don't know,
This is Wayne's.
Okay, I found that last night in the meeting, so.
see, very good
So you're gonna
zoning
check
ordinance.
into it, so make you see how it goes with the model that's been given to us.
I think it's probably gonna be more substantive, and I'm not purporting to be any kind of expert in either solar or wind energy, but.
Yeah,
we'll-
I mean,
we'll make
it's
sure
a couple
that
pages in our zoning
it covers
ordinance.
what we need.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty meaty, I mean, but I just haven't read every standard too.
You copy me that, we'll get it.
But we talked about the soil ordinance, and, you know, that the fact that, you know, this is mostly to address the commercial solar farms and to start implementing some standards. So I think the goal is that obviously I will start a draft, work with individual plan commission members because I can't have, you know, it can't be a group conversation among everybody. So I'll be sending out drafts and they will be individually sending me comments by themselves. I think we're gonna, you know, we're gonna have like a public hearing, public comment portion on the 24th, maybe May 24th. But they don't know if they can approve an ordinance act because it'll be a draft. So they said that if anything, they'll have a special meeting by June 11th, which should be set up for your June 14th meeting for adoption.
We tried to work around a lot of dates last night.
Oh.
It's pushed through pretty quick.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, the July 1 deadline, this is really gone away for this point, but
Yeah.
we don't know if it's not gonna come up again pretty quickly, but right now, that bill's not made it out anywhere in the conference or anything prior to the end, so.
So
Hopefully we got a little extra time, but I'd rather get it done as soon as we can.
There was some good conversation last night, about an hour and 45 minutes, probably worth of conversation last night on this.
I think the most interesting one of the interesting standards that somebody wanted to make sure was all USA components, made in the USA. I don't know if we can go that far.
It was a good comment, I like your train of thought.
Yeah, because most of those solar panels are made in China. And
You don't know what's coming in, and you know, they've got a shelf life when they're done. I guess that's a very important part of this ordinance.
The
is
graveyard.
What do you do with it? You ship it back? Or,
There's a lot of theories about graveyards and places that those things are.
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good conversation last night, took many different avenues last night, but I think it came around and I think we got some good direction.
But I think there's several companies in the US now producing those panels, you know, that are advertising their
Yeah.
thing here.
I mean,
Anyway.
as far as, I obviously, I'm only knowledge in zoning ordinances. I don't know if we can regulate a certain product being from the US. And I mean, to me, I think that's a nightmare on our department to make sure every electrical component is USA made.
Right.
But I mean, that was just, I understand they said, you know, because USA, we have stricter guidelines and control over products and that's something that was particularly made in China. But I just don't know if we can actually put that in the ordinance that all the components are USA.
What I put on my house in pole barn will be American made. Yes.
And that's what, and that was the model ordinance that I've had, I read and stuff like that. They address private solar farms, our solar panels too as well. Right now, we allow people to install solar panels on the ground or on the roof, as long as they meet the minimum structural standards, so.
I kind of read through that model ordinance that you sent, and I didn't read it in depth, but went through it. It looked to me like it was slanted more towards the solar panel installers than it was the county or local government, but, and like I said, I didn't read it.
Was that the model?
I'd have to go back,
Was
yeah.
that the model?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The model ordinance actually did have a little bit more standards than your guys' recommended in Montgomery. I think by the time this morning, I have 6 recommendations of ordinances to read. Somebody thinks I need to read Franklin, somebody gave me 3 today. I was like, I can try to read all these, but at one point I'm just gonna have to focus on just a few.
What works for us is what we need to really, focus on, and it's nice to have those models, but
Yeah.
like you said,
It draws like,
it's probably gonna be better anyway when it's all said and done. 'Cause that's the way
yeah,
they are.
Montgomery had a few things that they didn't go into that the model and the state had addressed, like as far as sounds, sound control, landscaping. I think they addressed some of that. Decommissioning, that's like the plan for after, like what happens in 15 years when they're no longer needed.
Or usable,
Yeah,
or they fail.
yeah, so that, they have some of that language in there as well, that I don't think Montgomery had, so it would be nice to look at 3 or 4 and just kind of morph it into one and see what works
Maybe
best.
if we get one going, we can send it out to the others and see what they think of it too. Be something to discuss at a conference.
Well, one of the things too is, Sheena and I were talking about this earlier today, balancing the right of the landowner to do with his land, obviously.
And that was a great discussion, is because we were deciding where to go. And some people don't want it in ag, but then again, you'll have those people who own that large chunk of land saying, how can you tell me that I can't rent my land out to a solar farm?
And I didn't want to, I began to think about this, how would it apply and how government, local government would come into play on it. And then I don't want to sound mercenary, but then I got to think, well, maybe, is this something maybe to have, for lack of a better terminology, an impact fee on, that they would pay a fee up front, or maybe there would be a 10% reserve of the electric generated that would go to X. And so I just put some thoughts together and trying to.
We discussed some of the, like
Did
the
you?
impact fee for these last night. The one suggestion I came up with, and I wish the mayor was still here, instead of using farm ground, let's use some of these 1 million square foot buildings. If you can offset some structural, on those buildings, can you use TIF dollars for that to invest into that development, to beef up those roof systems, to carry that solar panel, so you aren't getting into this issue about land use. You've got a lot of square footage on a lot of rooftops around here. So, that was something that was discussed, can it be looked at further? It needs in-depth study. You need to work with some of these developers coming into these Greenwoods, you got the Amazons, you got, all these big 1 million square foot buildings that you can put these panels on top of. It's gonna be a little bit more costly, but, the solar company's gonna take the least path of resistance, and that's walking out into a flat field and plopping them down.
And I'm sure there's property that the county owns in areas too that it wouldn't be intrusive or objectionable.
There's a lot, there was a lot of discussion on a lot of different avenues last night, so.
I think the point though of having our own ordinance and going against the HB 1381 was the home rule and the authority of the local jurisdiction to be able to work with those companies and the people here locally instead of it coming down as a blanket coverage from the state. So I think anything we come up with is going to be better than what we were going to have.
Better be dictated too.
Right, and I think, and that's the other thing, there were 17 bills presented this year that really were an attack on the home rule of the counties, and those are bills that we looked at thoroughly to make sure how they were doing it, what they were doing. We won some and we lost some, but this was, speaking with other commissioners, was the worst year we had for attacks on home rule in the counties. So I don't know what's going on at the state level, but people need to know what they're doing and trying to take that ability to jurisdict in our area for the 158,000 people here instead of the 6.3 in the whole state. So just something to think about.
If my statement is correct on this, what I heard, there was 2 ladies from Shelby County here last night that spoke. Theirs originally went from, I'm gonna say 12 to 1,500 acres of solar panels, farm ground they were gonna take, and now it's up to 10,000.
Yeah.
Because there's no ordinance, so they're kind of doing as they please. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that, that it is.
That was,
or
a big-
it is something.
that was a big discussion that we had, was that issue there. And there's one other area too, that I can't remember what area, what
Wayne
Wayne
Township or
It
Wayne
may
County.
be Wayne, that was having some issues with that too, so. Bottom line is that jurisdictional value should be here, not.
I agree. I think we're all.
That's the fight we're in for, right?
And, obviously, since I'm still one person in my office, it was a discussion. And we have appropriation funds for, hopefully have them as my support to make sure, certain things are worded correctly, that. So I probably will have added ordinary, maybe a fee that they will charge us for any review of these ordinances. But I believe I have appropriation for that, but I just, in case we see, $4,000, $5,000 bill from our attorney for review of this, I just want to give you guys a heads up. It's been recommended that I use the attorneys to help make sure that the ordinance at least is correctly written and not.
She gonna be involved also.
Yeah.
She'll be involved, but I don't think to take her exact time away from this right now.
We got plenty.
Whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
But I just, just in case, you guys see that bill in the future, I think it's important, especially with the ordinance, to make sure that we have another set of eyes other than my eyes on that.
I think that would be money well spent anyway, with what could happen if we don't do something, so I have no issue with that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, thank you for all you're doing on that too, appreciate it. Anything else?
Here for adjournment, so.
Have a motion and a second, we're adjourned.